Expectations, the thief of happiness. And we don't realise this, and we don't realise the difference between expectations in relationships, friendships, parenting and partnerships against requirements. And when we're running around with all these expectations of who people should be, we become greatly disappointed in the connections around us, and we pull away, we disconnect, we feel angry about our friends and our partners more often than not. And I learnt this when I started to really look at the relationships and friendships around me. I always felt that to some degree I had a problem. I had a problem because my friend didn't text me back quick enough, or I had a problem because my partner wasn't telling me he loved me regularly via text in the day. I had a problem because I felt my friends didn't put themselves out for me. I had a problem that my friends didn't tell me what was going on. I always seemed to feel angry or saddened to some degree about the connections that I had in my life. And it really led me on a deep reflection journey. Like, why? And obviously tracing it back, when you have wounded connections in childhood, when you have insecure connections with your parents, meaning you don't know where you stand, you always feel like you're trying to please your parents or your caregivers or people around you. You're always feeling like you have to be who you should be. This sets you up with expectations. Unmet expectations that your parents couldn't meet because of their own wounding. Unmet expectations that you tried to meet and you couldn't. And this leads you to struggle with connections in adulthood. And I knew I wanted to heal this. I knew that I didn't want to feel this anger and sadness and judgment all of the time about the people around me, because I knew it was disconnecting me from them. I wouldn't text people back. I wouldn't go out of my way. I would allow the anger to turn inward and become stubborn. Or I would say how I feel and got upset, and the other person wouldn't get it because I'd left it so long that I was probably irate by the time that I said it. When I started to reflect and realise I had all these expectations of who I should be as a friend, but also all these expectations of who my friends should be. I expected friendships were one where you always text each other, you always seen each other, like you see on the social media, the fakeness of social media, when people only post the good times they spend with people. And half the time they don't post the fact that they're not really connected to these people, it's just social gatherings. So you're judging people's social gatherings as connection. So people are always out drinking, people are always out spending time with people, getting drunk with people, those kind of social groups. You're judging that against connection, and that isn't always what's going on for these people. So you're comparing. And we compare our real life to social media life to people who do want to only show the fakeness of this because it leaves them to feel good, it leaves them to feel popular. And when I started to reflect on the expectations of who I thought I were, or needed to be. I needed to be someone who answered the phone all the time. I needed to be somebody who tried to always show up to everything. I needed to be a friend that always listened to the other person. I created this mass expectation of who I should be. So when other people didn't meet me at that same level, I was fuming, to say the least. No, I give all of myself to you. Why don't you give yourself to me? And when I started to really reflect, I realised I was giving all of myself, one, because that was what I was taught. But two, I was giving all of myself in the expectation that I would get all of that back from somebody else. That's what happens. When you give all of yourself, other people do that. And three, I wanted the validation of being a good person and good friend. But the problem is, it led me to be all or nothing. It led me to be a friend that was not consistent. I was either all or nothing. If I gave you my all and you didn't give me it back in any way, I was gone. So I had to learn to reflect on how much I was giving of myself. Because I was showing up all of the time, and because I was putting other people's needs before myself, it saddened me when that didn't happen. But I realised that actually I couldn't do that to a longer degree. I couldn't. It's not healthy to give all of yourself. You're not meant to be there for everyone's whim. You're not meant to listen to everyone offload to you. You're not meant to turn up to every event you're asked to, because some things overwhelm you. Some things clash with your diary. You're meant to balance friendships so that you can have a healthy friendship. And when I realised that that's what I was doing, then I realised that's what other people were doing. The reason why they were hot and cold is because one minute they tried to be supportive, but they were just overwhelmed. They were either being so over-supportive to other people in their life that they just couldn't show up for me, or they just didn't want the pressure on them of how to manage their friendships. And I realised that everyone manages and reflects on their friendships differently. And this started to lead me to understand the difference between friendships, close friendships, best friends and associates. I was giving similar energy to all people in my life. And you can't do that. You have to recognise that there are some people out there that are not going to meet you at any level. They're not going to want to invest in you. So you investing in them is counterproductive to what is connection. And we think we've got enough energy to invest in everyone, but we haven't. We haven't got enough energy to be that type of person that has time for everyone. We haven't. So that's why you have to learn the investment of energy sources in different people. And then when you've learnt that, you have to learn to look at your expectations and manage them. You have to look at your closest friends or the people that you care about and look at what they're going on in their life. It's easy for us to judge everything from our point of view. Well, I need you to be there for me. Well, you don't support me. You don't text me. And I'm not telling you to always make excuses for them as to why they don't text you, or make excuses for them as to why they're not supporting you in some ways. Then that, again, is for you to reassess. But learning to manage and accept that other people are overwhelmed too. And the certain people that you do want in your life, you have to understand they have different love languages. They have different ways of connecting with people. I have a best friend that I don't hear from for ages, but I'm always there if she needs me. I'm there if she needs me. I need her. We're going on holiday together. We know that we're both quite busy people, but I also know that she has other friends that she can just call up on a whim and go out for a drink with. But that's not me, because I'm not available to just go out drinking on a Saturday night. So I'm not going to be the first person that she calls to go out for a drink. So when I see on Facebook that she's out drinking on a Friday and she hasn't invited me, I'm not upset. Because why would she? If it was a birthday or something going on, then I would be upset. Of course, now I would express that, or realise I had to express that. But I also realise that my friend doesn't have children. Well, she does. She has one. She has got easy accessible to go out more. She enjoys drinking, I don't. So her needs are different to mine. So me expecting her to always try and meet my need to suit her need, it's not going to happen. But I do know that when the cookie crumbles, it's not them that she's calling, because she has a different friendship with them than she does me. So I've learned to value, respect and love what we have, while also understanding that she has a life beyond me. We can make relationships quite a lot about us without realising, not because we're selfish, horrible people, but because we have needs that we're trying to override all of the time by meeting everyone else's needs. So when you stop, my best friend, I don't answer every one of her phone calls the minute she rings me. Not because I don't love her, but because sometimes I'm busy. And once upon a time, I used to stop and answer every phone call, and then I felt resentment for it. So when I rang her and she didn't do the same, I'd be fuming, because I'd be like, even when I've got things going on. Why? Because I was denying an inner aspect of putting in boundaries, or denying an inner aspect of realising that I can't meet all of people's needs. A good person isn't based on how much of yourself you give. And friendships have to be about value. You have to feel valued in friendships. And if you're overgiving, you'll never feel valued, because no one values somebody that they expect to overgive all of the time. And this is why relationships crumble, because somebody wants to support somebody. That other person expects them to always be there, and then one day they're not. Well, have you valued that that person has given all of themselves to you? Have you just learned to take, and you've not learned, actually, shall I do something nice for them because they always do something nice for me? Shall I ring them and ask how they are? We are in a very self-absorbed world because we're overwhelmed. Friendships and relationships are two ways. And you'll only ever learn how to navigate your friendships and relationships if you start to accept more than what you're accepting. Pulling yourself away because it's easier than having connections that you feel are not easy, it's just going to lead you to punish yourself. You won't feel happy. Nobody feels happy when they're disconnected from people. You can say that that's how it's meant to be, but you won't feel happy. So we have to learn to navigate friendships. We have to learn when we realise we're giving too much. We have to learn when to support somebody. We have to learn when to ask somebody to support us. We have to learn when to let things go. We have to learn when we need to say something because we feel it. You're never not going to get hurt in a friendship or relationship. It's just impossible. You can avoid it. You can avoid connection, conflict and all of that, but you'll just hurt yourself. Everything in life is about navigation. And does that mean that I never get upset with my friend, or I never feel as if sometimes I'm being pushed out, or I never feel like she doesn't bother with me, or of course it doesn't. Those feelings do rise because that inner child of me has been wounded somewhere. But when they rise, I go, is this real? You know she loves you because when you go to her, she supports you. You know she loves you because she comes to you when she needs you for something, and you know she doesn't go to everyone else. You know she loves you because she values you. You can see that. Now, she doesn't always tell me she loves me because she doesn't share love the same way I do, which is verbally. But when I'm in her presence, I feel her love. I feel her connection. I feel that she values me. So, but I also know that that has only happened because I've had to learn to value myself and not to overgive. We have to learn that friendship is a two-way, but it's also about acceptance. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. You're never not going to get hurt. But in those moments that you have raw connection, you have times you're enjoying yourselves, you really realise why the importance of connections is important. The importance of connections is important. You really realise why it is important to heal this. We're all learning and we're all healing and we're all growing, but it's only becoming aware of these things does that enable us to be able to go down that road of healing and growing. Do you comment underneath? How does this affect you? How do you feel? How do you resonate with what I've said? Do you struggle with friendships? Unless we have connection in our life, we don't thrive as people. And that's a period. Anyone who says they're happy being isolated, lie. Because you are not happy when you are not connected to people, so that's why you have to learn to do this. Namaste.